Did you guys watch From Babylon to Eden's video, Camp of the Saints? Towards the end of that video will blow your mind. It blew mine. I know AI can fake anything these days, but that doesn't mean everything's fake. And sometimes you just got to use your discernment and watch what they put in fiction, movies, and books, because there's this thing about mankind, and they cannot imagine something unless they have been given the tidbits of what's in their imagination from reality. We can mix it, just like we can't create an animal without using animal features from animals we already know. Like, it's just impossible, because we cannot create things out of nothing, because we're not God. So therefore, everything that we imagine comes from reality. So all the movies, all the books, all of it's coming from somewhere. It may be misrepresented, it may not be the exact truth, or, it may have truth. Usually it has truth in it. So, have you heard the phrase, lies in the news, truth in the movies? Truth in the movies, lies in the news. Yeah. Well, that's what I see happening, because you can't trust the news for, what they're presenting it as. It doesn't mean you can't pick up clues and kind of know where things might be headed. Sure. But, this and this happened over here, and, this means this, and we're going to have to do this because people are doing this now. All of that is, staged, in my opinion. And just serves to distract people, keep people in fear, keep people going with the program, keep them in the system. But as far as movies and fiction books, I think they put a lot of truth in there. And so things like portals, I don't know if I can possibly figure out a way to put a clip of it in here, but if I don't, anyways, it's around the 45 mark. I would watch the whole video. I'm going to watch it again, because I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me to focus these days, because, I don't know. I already maxed out all of my attention span with YouTube. So, but when I saw that, I was like, what? And so I went looking for, I forgot what the channel name is, but he mentions it. It's I don't know, Freaky something maybe. I don't know. I totally forgot what the name of the channel is, who actually video recorded a portal. Could it be fake? Yes, of course. I realize it could be fake. But it's worth looking at, because, well, I've read books, and I can't remember the name of the book, but it was all about, Arizona and searching for portals in Arizona. So, and, I think it's legitimate, and maybe we're looking at leftover technology from the Millennial Reign for people to get around, for people to go visit the camp of the saints where Jesus was. God, if he's reigning on earth, he's going to make things awesome, and he's going to make it to where we can get around a lot quicker than having to, walk. So that's why we see all the railways. That's why we see the roads going through places that there's nobody even there. There's no reason for that road to even cut through there. No reason for these railroads to go clear up into Canada and just bottom out in no man's land. There's just no explanation for it, other than it used to be a lot more built out than it is, and it's because there was an extremely advanced civilization here. Are there other explanations? Sure, but not any that make more sense than the Millennial Reign having already occurred, and that's what we're looking at. That's what makes sense to me, and that's where my mind has settled on. And that's why I can't really watch any more videos, because it's just what else is there to know? I think we've pretty much reached the bottom of the rabbit hole. That's got to be it. That explains everything. There's no other good explanation. So, but go watch that video if you want to have your mind blown, because I always like to have mind blown, especially with new information that's pertinent to the little season. So check it out. Watch that portal. It looks real to me, and it looks like I mean, if we knew the formula, looks like anybody could do it, quite honestly. And we know frequencies are everything, right? We know that that's how Coral Castle was built. We know that's how probably they were moving huge stones using technology with frequencies. We know that they can do harm with frequencies. We can heal with frequencies. So it makes sense that there would be frequencies that you can use to do a little bit of traveling, open a portal. I mean, it seems so science fiction, but I think it's real, and I think what they present as science fiction is the false stuff. But this other stuff that they present as not true is true, and the stuff they present as true, like space travel, going to the moon, and aliens, and all this, is not exactly true. Extraterrestrials, sure, coming from outside of our known terrestrial area, sure, there could be other entities that they're calling alien, but that doesn't mean they came from outer space, because I don't think outer space exists anymore. Not like they present it anyway. But can we just make it a new goal to figure out what frequency we need to open up a portal, peek our head through, and get to the Camp of the Saints? Because I mean, this place may get worse than it is, and it looks like it's going to, but then some days it doesn't, right? Because Trump's like, I don't know, I hear good things all the time, like, oh, he's getting ready to do away with the income tax. I'm like, yeah, right, but if he does that, he's really gonna have me wondering if he's a good guy. Because like before, I don't trust any president that makes their way into the office, because I figure they've been put there. And then, you know, fit as flat earthers stuff, like this is, you know, basically Lucifer on Earth, which would make sense, because Lucifer would be on Earth walking around if this is the little season. So, you know, and he wouldn't, I don't know that I guess if I didn't think that he was doing something so out in the open as being the president of the United States and taking America down to the ground, because everybody's always hated the Americans. And if you don't believe it, just like go Google white mother, like Google white mothers and look at the images. Google black mothers and look at the images. It's like, why don't they let white people exist and, you know, be proud of their race, when every other race is allowed to exist and be proud of their race, but not white people? Oh, heavens no. So what is the deal with that? And I would really like to know why that prejudice against white people has been perpetuated so heavily in our world. It's just pretty darn crazy, you know. And I love all the races, and I think they should all maintain their existence by procreating with each other. Not that I'm against mixing, like, go ahead, but don't do it on purpose to get rid of the diversity. That's racist. So I've been monitoring those kind of subjects for a while, just because of my research into RH negatives, which, if anybody has any idea how RH negative ties into the little season and possibly the rest of the dead, because I think the reason they may not want us to know about RH negative might have something to do with that, since that's the biggest secret of all, right? Because if this is little season, one thing's for dang sure, Satan's not going to want us to know that it's the little season, because if we know that for sure, we cannot be deceived, because then we'll know we're being deceived, and anything he does to try to deceive will not work. So his mission number one would be to convince us that we are not in the little season, and that, you know, where else would we be in history? We wouldn't, either in the new earth, and somehow convince us to not believe the words of the Bible, and that, you know, it's all symbolic and spiritual, or he would try to convince us that we are before his return and still waiting somehow for Jesus to return, which also weakens Jesus's words and gets us to doubt the truthfulness of his word, which should be true and true, because Jesus can't lie, can he? So, you know, and for people to say, oh yeah, before this generation passes away, he'll return. Oh, well, he's talking about his resurrection. Oh, you're talking about in 3 days. He's saying people won't die in 3 days. Of course they won't. Most people aren't just going to suddenly die in 3 days, or however long it was going to be before he died and resurrected. But you don't talk like that. It makes no sense. So we know Jesus was talking about his return for the millennial kingdom reign, 1,000 years of, not perfection, but heck of a whole lot better than what we're dealing with right now in this little season, and than what they were dealing with back then before Jesus came to the earth, and during his time on the earth when he was walking around doing miracles, because the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all these other groups of people who were just rejecting him the whole time just for doing nothing but being perfect and godly and just helping people, so that time wasn't good either. So I would say the millennial kingdom would be probably the best time in history, but besides before the fall. But I think, if it wasn't going to be Adam and Eve, it was going to be somebody, because people are inherently curious. You tell us not to go over there, first thing on our mind is like, why? What's over there? Especially if someone comes along and manipulates us and tricks us, like, hey, are you really not going to go over there? It's super cool. You should really check it out. It's like, you'll know really cool things and you'll be like God. We'd be like, wait, what? So I don't know. There's a lot of different interpretations about that story. Some people even saying that the good guy is actually who the bad guy is. I just don't know about that. Somebody would really have to lay that out for me and explain it in a better way, because they say that God, Yahweh, little g God, Yahweh is who they're talking about there. Like, the Lord is not the same as God. And, that could always be possible. There may be something we're missing there. But either way, God is God. There is no other God. The little g gods are not God. There may be some Old Testament stuff that we have been programmed to not be able to understand because of programming. And maybe they want us to miss something or think badly of God because the Old Testament God seems mean sometimes. I don't know. Well, I've always been able to just work it out in my mind, oh yeah, well, what were those people doing that he had destroyed? Were they sacrificing their babies? If so, I would say it's probably a good idea to have them wiped out, and the children, because if they've been programmed into this lifestyle and that's what they're going to continue to perpetuate as they grow and exist, then we don't want to leave any seeds for that business to start back up. So I don't know. I'm always able to go back to my spiritual intuition and be like, does that sound like God's character to me? It would only work if this and this and this, and just use my common sense. Because I've been questioning things since I was young, because that's just what I do. Which, if you've got a stubborn one, I think, I wasn't necessarily stubborn. I was really trying to please too. I mean, I wanted to be good, and I did eventually give up, but I did always question things. My brain just does that. I always wanted to know why. Like, what do you mean? In science class, I would ask questions and they'd just be like, I don't know. That's just the way it is. The scientists know. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. What do you mean? If they can understand it, I should be able to understand it. So can you explain it in a way that I can understand? Because that doesn't make sense. Even in astronomy class, when they were explaining different rotations and spins, and I'm like, hold on, I'm getting dizzy. You're saying, and they're like, yeah, I know. It's like the astronomers, they, do these calculations and they understand it all and blah, 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 blah. You're not smart enough to understand. I'm like, but I think I am, because I don't think anybody's necessarily if we can't understand it, it probably don't make sense. I'm not saying I don't have any vaccine damage, because I probably do, because I'm vaccinated, but I think our body can heal a lot for the most part if you haven't gone severe autistic, which they can probably heal too. I've heard research into things like nicotine helping these people with autism, and that sounds great to me. I think they should definitely try that. I've always been a fan of nicotine, but I got to stay away from it because I like it too much. And I have an addictive personality, so I just have to stay away from things like that. And in this life, the research, they're never going to like do the right research to really prove it. They just do research to prove that it's bad for you. They won't do research to prove like, well, is it the formaldehyde and the arsenic and all these other things that they add to the cigarettes? Or is it the tobacco itself? Are there harmful effects from just tobacco? Or is it tobacco plus all these additives that they add to make it super addictive? I mean, it's hard to glean the truth from their stupid research. So really, we're just kind of lost in this world because we can't trust science anymore. Trust the science, yeah, right. Do the opposite of whatever they tell you to do, usually. Which is why I always like, oh, they say don't smoke. Well, I guess I can because I love it and I'm going to. But, you know, it's maybe not the best since you're inhaling all these, I don't know, inhaling smoke may not be the best, just using common sense. But I don't know that for sure, especially if you don't do it in excess. But like I said, I'm an addict. I will do it in excess. I will want more, and then before you know it, that's what my whole day is revolving around. So I have to be one who just doesn't do those things. Or I have to be one that tries to not do those things. I do my best to avoid anything that I'll be addicted to. I'm even going to try to quit coffee because I don't like being addicted to it, and I don't think it actually helps me. I love the taste. I'm a black coffee drinker. I like it black. I like it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Just give me my coffee. I like to read the Bible while I drink my first cup of coffee, and that's like great for me. But I think the effects of drinking coffee, I don't know, they just don't seem so great. And I think quite possibly we were tricked into becoming coffee drinkers. You know, they were able to find benefits, but can you trust the research? No. Just like they like to say there's benefits to smoking, and not smoking, but drinking a glass of wine a day or two, you know, and they'll push it to 2 or whatever. You know, people aren't doing 1 or 2, they're doing more than that. Well, my parents were, and a lot of people I know are. Drinkers do that, and I'm not saying don't have a glass of wine every once in a while at a steakhouse when you're feeling it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the daily drinkers that are using that kind of research as their justification for why they can drink when it's actually an addiction for them and is actually not good for them, but the research that has been cherry-picked to show that it has benefits, even though they're not mentioning all the negative effects, is not a good reason to be drinking. I am very prejudiced against alcohol because I've seen how alcoholics act, and I cannot stand alcoholics. Because, well, I just can't stand the way they act. It's so disgusting. It's the worst. So yeah, I am not pregnant anymore. I actually had a miscarriage, which was really hard. I am 40, so I know they get more common as you get older. But I had gotten excited about it because, you know, I wasn't trying, and then I got pregnant. I was like, heck yeah, you know, I'll take another baby. I freaking love babies and children, especially mine. And I just had a weird pregnancy the whole time. And I never really felt like it was actually real. Like I was like, don't really tell anybody because you never know. It may not actually come to fruition. And that's kind of what my feeling was the whole time. So I don't know. Just looking at this dead deer over here. But yeah, that's what happened to me, and it was really sad, and I'm just now like starting to feel alive again after that experience. So if you know anybody that ever goes through that, boy, it is not easy. Comfort them and offer them a meal, and that's what happened to me, and it really helped me recover feeling loved and all that, because I was not in a good place after that. But I won't end on that. I will just mention that the house that I was trying to get with the creek in the back, we got it. So super happy about that. We love it. We love our house. We love it more than we've loved like any other house we've ever lived in, because it's just, it feels like home. It's literally, it's an old home. It's like from the 70s, and it's so outdated, but it's just well taken care of. So it didn't really need to be updated. And it is so awesome. I love it. It just feels good, you know, when you just get your house and everything's just like where it should be. The dimensions of everything are just perfect. Like everything just fits, you know what I mean? So I might give a little tour of the house at some point, just so you can see how cute the house is and how beautiful the creek is. It's very awesome. And yeah, that's about all I've got for this little video. Yeah, check out that From Babylon to Eden. And let's work on finding a way out of this system. If we could just go through portals and travel around the world, heck yeah, that'd be freaking awesome. If we could just be like, oh, just tune in to 777 hertz and put your speaker on and let it roll, and before you know it, the ether opens up and you can just step in and go into a different world where it's really close to where Jesus is. So yeah, go check out portals and see if you can find any more information about it, and let's work on this together and make it our next goal to figure out how to get out of this system, because you know they won't let us go physically, right? They're not going to let us physically go to the north. Like they make it sound like you can, but you really can't. You really can't. They make it impossible. Like you can dog sled, but your dogs can't poop, and you got to bring all the food with you, and you can't go to certain areas, and you can't go across certain areas. So basically, you know, they've designed it in a way to prevent you from going to certain places. And there's military bases all up there. So if you could just transport through a portal and go to the place you need to go, heck yeah. I wish I remembered what that book was that I read recently that talked about portals and everything like that, but it was really cool. It was a good book. And yeah, that's about all I've got. So see y'all later.